This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. For last point yesterday, that is a database, and I told you to make the task easier for you for this slide database. So just make these questions. Ask yourself this question: what is a database? Database is a tool for collecting and organizing information. And we said that one of them will not be standalone. Means we cannot just collect the data only. So that we need to collect it as well as to organize it, to order it in very good way. Second things, the main purpose of any database, just saving the information regard that particular item. Okay, so or an entity, so that the job of the database nothing rather than saving or storing information. This information could be for anything. That's why database can be for anything as well. Yes, for people it could be, for products or items could be, for orders as well. Yes, so when we can decide this information can be kept in a database, so the idea of the database, it comes from how it is starting as a list, starting as a list. So this list, it is traditional paper based, traditional just table in Word, or just table in a spreadsheet. There is no mechanism for completing the things. Okay, on automatic and automation. So a list, keep in your mind, it is a form of columns and rows. Column and rows. Point number 3. Point number 4. What about this list? Where it will lead us could be take us to some difficulties. To some difficulties. But when our list in step number 3, it become bigger, grows biggest and biggest, then it will be difficult to deal with this list. Then we will have some problems. We will have some problems. And even these problems could have consequences. Consequences means something could be reflected or comes from these problems. Then to where it will take us to dead situation, as I told you, limit. You cannot go behind that. This is the maximum. You cannot move forward. Yes, you have to stop here. So this is a dead situation, a block situation. So then we have to move to the last point. There is any solution from the point number 5, a limitation? Yes, we have. Whenever we have developed database management system, whenever we have developed or programming database management system, so our problems will be solved easily to get an information out from that is referencing the information, getting back the information. So this is the point left. Within the last video, we get some problem with that video, and it will not be added at the end of the video. So I cut it and I send the rest of the video. Such way, this is our yesterday class, and from here we have to move where we have to move to our today class, Bismillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us move forward to the next class, or the second class. That is what? That is database concept. Database concept. Or today class, it is the basic concept of the database. Okay, before starting the class, so keep in your mind concept of anything is the reason of existence. Reason of the existence. What do you mean by that? Reason of existence. As a human, if you didn't breathe, so you cannot survive, you cannot live. So the breathing is the concept of life, of our life. But drinking water or eating, these are concepts. If you didn't have it, so you can not longer survive. Please mute it, mute the voice, please. Okay, so this is what this is the concept of anything. We call it the reason of existing. Means, in another word, if it is not there, this reason. If it is not there, nothing will be there. This is the concept. This is the reason of the existence. So if there is no breath, there is no life. Got it? If there is no water, so there is no life as well. That's why we will say concept of anything, the reason of existing. Reason of existing. If it is there, then the things will be. If it is not there, nothing will be there. That is why we want to talk about a database concept. Database concept, keep in your mind 4 things. What is that? First of all, you should have something called field. Field. When you have a field, then you can proceed in your database. Taking you to where? It will take you to something called record. I have a field, then I get a record. You have to move forward to where? To having a table, because both of this field and record will form a table. Keep in your mind. Don't forget. Just last definition. Table is a list. A list is a table. Both of them are column versus row. So column versus row, both of them. Got it? Such a way we have to move forward to where then at the end you have a database. You could have a database when all these 4 concepts are available together in one place within one program or application, then we have a database. We have a database. That's why we will say concept of a thing, the reason of existing. If I don't have them, then I don't have a database. Simply, then let us get inside the definition in details. So the phase concept of the database, we call it field. We call it field. And keep in your mind, field is structured in a vertical way. We call it a column in our table. So a field is a single piece of information. Again, will take us back to the last class when we talk about this process of data. So the face data, that is a student ID, it is a field. Student name is another field. Student measure, a third field. Get the point? So field, a single piece of information like student ID, like student name, like student address, like student measure by this way. So the column wise, we call it a field. Okay, whenever you have a field, then you can get the second concept, and that is a record. So what is the record? It is a grouping, a collection of related fields. Related means a connected. Got it? So a record should be a related and connected fields. Let us be clear. Okay. So we go back to our database example. So we are section 8. Then this is our table. It's here. So if I'm taking, for example, any student, for example, this time we are going to take Muhammad. So Muhammad major is optometry. Is that true? Of course not, because this major optometry, it is not belongs to Muhammad, while Muhammad he is an engineer. Got it? So a related means straight line. Do you observe this blue highlights? Related means that is straight line horizontally, complete horizontally row. So we call it a record. Muhammad having ID, of course, yes. Muhammad having names in Arabic and English, yes, of course. Muhammad having a major, yes, of course. Then this we call it a record of Muhammad, yes, of course. So when we get back to our notes, so a record, that is straight line of related data, related fields should be connected. Then it will form our record. The second concept. So a number of pieces of information that relate to the same object. The object here is Muhammad, for example. Okay. So if you keep records on you of these students, you might have the student ID, the student name, the student address, the major, and until the last. So a single piece of information in their field, while the group of the things, collection of the things, we call it a record. So right now, two concepts over. Field, then from the field, we can get a record. Later, keep in your mind, a record or a field should have a data. A record should have a data, or a field should have a data. Doesn't make difference. So this is a table. This is a table. This is structure of column versus rows. So we have an ID, we have company name, last name, first name, or company category, and then the email of this company, the owner of this, till the last. So vertically we call it field, while horizontally we call it a record. So two concepts. Okay, whenever you have these two concepts, you can get inside the third one. The third one is a table. So a table is a collection again of related records. Related. Why it is related? Because I cannot have information over here regard the student from IT1 or regard the student from IT2 or even a student. This is a section 8, right? So I cannot get students over here from section 4 inside this list, or I cannot get students from section 2 within this table. Never ever. Why? Because it is not related to this table. So The information within this table should be related to each other, should be connected to each other. So now, if you put all the student records together, then maybe you have a table of students. Like student of Fin 3, example, that is section 08. Those are the students of section 8, not more than that. Only within this table because they are connected, they are related to each other. Now, at the moment you have a field, moving forward, you're having a record, then both of them, they will form a table. So simply you can have a database. That is why the database is a collection of tables. Collection of tables. Such way I'm having the four concept with me. You are keeping the university records, you might have a table of students, table of results, another table of attendance records, tables of marks, whatever. So keep in your mind, a table must be identified by a name. The table must have a name. Table must have a name. Definitely yes. So these are example of table names. Result, attendance, or student information. So this is a table name. Now this is an example of table names to the left side over here, and to the right side this is the data within that table, column versus row. Column vertically, we call it field. Row horizontally, we call it a record. Those are kept in one place, it's called a table. Then, since I have tables, then I can keep this within a database to work systematically in an electronic form. So such a way, this is the database concept, and we start with the concept of anything. It will make the things available exist. The reason of existing, we call it a concept. So what we mean by reason of existing means if this thing is not there, you will not find anything. Nothing will be there. If it is not there, nothing will be there. So the database concepts are four of them. That is field, that is record, table, and database. And if you observe, four of them are connected to each other. If you want to have a database, you should have a table. If you want to have a table, you should have a record. And if you want to have a record, you should have a field. Absent of any one of them, absent of the database. Absence, that means it is not there, does not exist. So then you cannot get any database. If you don't have a field, then where you will keep your data? The actual data is a record. So the data will be put in a square place. We call it a field. This is a field. This is space, the field. Keep whatever you want. This triangle is a field for name in English language, and likewise. So a record, a place where to keep your data. A record, a collection of fields. Whenever you have a field, whenever you have a record, at the same time, then you have a table. Table is a list. In a list, column and row. And keep in your mind, the table as well, we call it an object. An object. Why it is object? Till we come to that point. But consider it right now. Object is physical. Physical means you can touch it. So Table is an object. Later on, we will come to this point. Yes, it is. And last, whenever we have three of these, we have a database. We have a database. Simply, these are the concept of our database for our class. So, a field definition, we call it a single piece of information, the only one. As example, student ID. If I'm asking about example, please inside the quiz, an example of a field, a single piece of information, like a student ID, like a student name, like a student address, like a major. So this is a single piece of information. And when I'm filling these fields, it will give me a record. A record, a collection of related fields. Be smart student. This collection actually it is that. Actually it is a data. I need the real student ID. I need the real student name. I need the real student address and likewise. Got it? So a collection of related fields. You need to be smart. And I said this is actual data. Actual data. It will form a record. Okay. Moving forward to the table. Table it is a collection of related records. Means all these records within this place are related to one thing, related to one object. If I'm talking about, as I said, section fin 3 section 8, that means all the students within this list are only student of level 3 belongs to whom belongs to section 8 only. That's what we mean by related. What we mean are related. Okay, next, when we have the above three concepts, then we have a database. Then we have a database. So usually keep in your mind the database having more than one table. It's a collection of tables. Because if you have just one table, then what is the use? You can keep your ordinary, you can keep your ordinary list that is in Word or in Excel or even in paper base because the database means you have to invest some money in that database cost you definitely. So that is why whenever you have group of tables you need them to work together, then it is better to keep them in a systematic way. We call it a database management systems. So by such way, I'm having the full concept of the database. I'm going to stop the recording and I want your feed